Why so many mega corporations are downsizing from giant to just big.
Marketplace Morning Report is supported by Progressive. Progressive Commercial Insurance protects small businesses with customizable coverage options as unique as your business. More at progressivecommercial.com.
From Marketplace, I'm Sabri Benishore in for David Brancaccio. 10 years ago, Kraft Heinz became one of the biggest food companies in the world. It owns Oscar Mayer, Heinz Ketchup, Jell-O, Cool Whip, and a bunch more. But it is now shrinking. The company says it's just been spread too thin. It's going to split in two. And this unmerging has actually been a corporate trend recently. Warner Brothers Discovery is breaking up into two media companies. Honeywell is splitting up into three companies. Marketplace's Kristen Schwab takes a look at why so many corporate breakups.
Mergers and acquisitions make sense when company strategies go together, like salt and pepper, or peanut butter and jelly, or Jell-O and Philadelphia cream cheese. Eric Gordon is a professor of entrepreneurial studies at the University of Michigan.
When you put companies together, there's some hope that there's going to be synergy. Somehow they're going to be better together.
Merging means brands can share resources, like marketing departments and supply chains. But it can also create a lot of bureaucracy, which is why Gordon says it's common for merged companies to later break apart.
The hope is each company will know exactly what it needs to do and can do it more efficiently than some big sprawling conglomerate.
That shift has become especially important for companies as tariffs restructure the economy. It's why Emily Feldman, a management professor at Wharton, thinks more corporations are splitting up.
I think it's an uncertainty-driven wave.
Uncertainty about tariffs and inflation, says Feldman, is especially tough for companies that make consumer goods. Shoppers are switching to generic brands to save money, and they're becoming less interested in processed foods.
Different demand patterns, different consumption habits.
By splitting up, Kraft Heinz brands can pivot faster. I'm Kristen Schwab for Marketplace.
The number of companies going public in 2025 is already higher than the total for 2024. Just yesterday, Klarna, the buy now, pay later company, announced it was launching an IPO. More announcements are on the way. Marketplace's Henry Epp has more on why some companies feel the time is right to test the publicly traded waters.
For context, the last couple of years have not been great for IPOs. Unlike the boom in initial public offerings around 2021, investors have been setting a higher bar for companies that want to go public, says Emily Tsung at PitchBook.
Companies really need to show either a path to profitability or actually strong business fundamentals.
Meaning your company should actually make money or have a plan to make money, and not all startups are in that boat. President Trump's sudden across-the-board tariff announcement this spring didn't do any favors for potential IPOs either, because investors got even more cautious, says Santosh Rao at Manhattan Venture Partners.
The fear was that they will hold back and IPOs may not be well received.
But now he says companies are gradually renewing their interest in offering shares on public markets because investors are feeling pretty good. Stocks rebounded after sinking in April, and they've been rising steadily ever since, says Avery Marquez with Renaissance Capital.
Which has lended to kind of a broader risk appetite, which is very important for the IPO market. We're seeing renewed interest in growth stocks.
Which could rise even more if the Fed cuts rates later this month. I'm Henry Epp for Marketplace.
All right, let's do the numbers. The FTSE in London is up 0.5%. The Dow is pretty much flat, doing nothing. S&P futures and NASDAQ futures are up in the 5 to 0.7% range. The yield on the 10-year Treasury is 4.29%. And yields in the UK, Japan, and Australia have been creeping up too. Investors are getting a little jittery about lending money to governments over the long term, while those governments are just spending, possibly stirring up inflation.
Marketplace Morning Report is supported by Mercury. Mercury brings together banking, credit cards, invoicing, and more to help entrepreneurs manage their finances. Learn more at Mercury.com. And by Avalara, providing cloud-based solutions for businesses to manage property tax compliance. Learn more at Avalara.com/property-tax.
Just a quick note, this next story is a little sensitive. OpenAI is promising to improve safety for ChatGPT users who turn to it in moments of mental crisis. This is after a lawsuit against OpenAI after a teen user shared suicidal thoughts to ChatGPT and ended up taking his own life. Marketplace's Savannah Peters has more.
There's a lot we don't yet know about the role of chatbots in some users' mental health crises, says Karthik Sarma with UC San Francisco's AI and Mental Health Research Group.
Is the use of these agents a mere association, or is it somehow causative?
Sarma says lots of use of a chatbot for mental health support could just be a sign that someone is struggling, or it could trigger bad outcomes, or some combination. But he says there is evidence that longer chats are more likely to veer into dangerous territory.
My fear is that what's happening here is that a model over the course of these really long conversations is kind of getting dragged off center into a place that's not reality-based.
OpenAI declined an interview request from Marketplace, but the company has acknowledged that existing safeguards work best in brief exchanges with ChatGPT and sometimes fall short over the course of a drawn-out interaction. Nicole Martinez-Martin, a bioethicist at Stanford, says AI companies have a responsibility to help users avoid emotional dependence on their products.
Limiting the amount of use, for example.
But Martinez-Martin says that's at odds with those companies' business models and design choices.
That ultimately are meant to boost engagement, that are meant to bring someone back to keep using it more and more and use it in more personal ways.
OpenAI says it's consulting with medical experts and will roll out parental controls and other new safety features before the end of the year. David Cooper with the consulting company Therapists in Tech says there is a place for AI in the mental health field.
We can use these tools to our benefit. I usually frame it for therapists of what if you had an assistant that could help you run your private practice, that could help you engage with insurance companies.
But Cooper says a lack of access to human clinicians is part of the problem. Financial barriers and a provider shortage help explain why so many Americans are turning to AI for mental health support in the first place. I'm Savannah Peters for Marketplace.
Meta also says it's blocking its chatbots from discussing self-harm and suicide with teens, directing them to expert resources instead. In New York, I'm Sabri Benishore with the Marketplace Morning Report. From APM, American Public Media.